Hybe Entertainment is the label that people usually think of when thinking of a medium-sized K-pop label. Outside of the big three plus Hybe, Hybe Entertainment arguably had the most success in the K-pop industry ever since the second generation. One can debate that during the second generation of K-pop, Hybe was on par with the big three. Their first group, 4 Minute, skyrocketed in popularity from their debut and went on to be a top-tier act of the second generation. Their second group, Beast, also had massive success and were one of the biggest boy groups of the second generation and are still popular today under the name Highlight. Hyuna from 4 Minutes was another breakout star from Hybe since she was promoted like crazy by the label right after 4 Minutes debuted, and that propelled her into becoming one of the biggest soloists of the second generation. Other soloists would also debut under Hybe like GNA, who amassed insane success. Hybe would continue getting recognition after they started a sub-label called Hybe Entertainment and debuted Apink in that label, who would also achieve massive popularity. Hybe continued riding high after debuting BTOB, who once again would attain a lot of popularity. All this success made people perceive Hybe as one of the biggest K-pop label, and when speaking of the biggest K-pop label, people would at one time say the big three and Hybe, which just goes to highlight how much recognition the label amassed during the late second generation and early third generation of K-pop. This was their peak and Hybe would go on a downhill ride after this. In 2015, they debuted CLC during the time that all the top third generation girl groups were debuting, thus having to fight very hard for attention, which enabled other groups to take the limelight away from them. This was exacerbated by the fact that CLC's debut wasn't that strong and their overall promotion by Hybe was lackluster. So when they debuted, no one cared about them, and Hybe Entertainment failed them time and time again by giving them the wrong concept and horribly promoting them. The profound impact of this can be witnessed on their chart performance. Since their debut song, none of their other songs ever charted in the Circle Digital chart. Now this meant a significant change of fortunes for Hybe, since this was the first time that a Hybe idol group was failing to chart. This signified that nobody in Korea cared about their new group and Hybe's influence over the K-pop industry was waning. The situation for Hybe would continue going on a downhill slope as their next group, Pentagon, would debut with little success. Even though Pentagon would go on to slowly amass some commercial success in Korea and abroad, their career was nowhere near as big as Hybe's previous boy groups. The misfortunes of both Pentagon and CLC could be heavily attributed to Hybe's horrible management of these two groups and their neglect over them. With their poor performance, Hybe went from housing the leading K-pop groups of the second generation that easily topped the Circle Digital chart to housing acts that failed to chart in the chart altogether, thus highlighting just how far Hybe had fallen. Also by this time, 4 Minutes had disbanded and GNA had gotten into a controversy that forced her to retire from the K-pop industry. Furthermore, Beast left the company and Hyuna and Dawn, a member of Pentagon, started dating and got kicked out of the company. Now all the big groups and soloists had left Hybe, which meant that Hybe started losing an immense amount of money from their operations and bankruptcy wasn't out of the question. So when I-DLE debuted, Hybe's future was on the line. They had a very little budget and most people doubted them due to Hybe's horrible financial status, since that meant that Hybe wouldn't properly be able to promote them. However, I-DLE blew away all the expectations with their debut, and their title track La Tata peaked at 12 in the Circle Digital chart, and I-DLE quickly came to dominate the fourth generation of K-pop. I-DLE's success single-handedly saved Hybe. However, this also posed a problem for Hybe, since now they became too dependent on I-DLE. Just to showcase how much Hybe grew to depend on I-DLE single-handedly sold more albums than every single other artists had combined in all of Hybe's history. Due to I-DLE's success, they made over $100 million in operating revenue in 2023, much of which were derived from I-DLE's activities. Even though Hybe debuted Lightsum and Nowadays to have more groups in the label, both of these groups would fail to attain a fraction of the success of I-DLE due to Hybe's horrible management of them. The problem now is that I-DLE's contract with Hybe is about to conclude soon, and if I-DLE doesn't re-sign with them, then Hybe will lose their main source of income. They will be losing a lot of money and may even be in danger of bankruptcy, since none of their other artists are popular. Hybe's situation is even more troublesome because Soyeon of Gidle has continuously dissed Hybe and recently eagerly mentioned that her contact with the label is ending in November, which implies that she is planning to leave the company. Hybe Entertainment said that they didn't know Soyeon would say such a thing and what she said is false as they are thoroughly discussing contract renewal. Hybe most likely said this to save their face and to protect their stock prices. However, Soyeon doubled down on her statement and mentioned that the whole situation showcases the inadequate response of the company. She clearly dissed the company and there seems to be hot tension between her and Hybe. Recently it was also mentioned by news outlets that she is eyeing several companies like COS Entertainment, which is led by Zico and under Hybe. The other members are also most likely to leave because the vast majority of the members are foreigners who are very big in their respective home countries and will probably seek to enhance their career there. It's very easy to perceive that all the members will leave Hybe, but the group as a whole will remain under Hybe since they own the copyright of the group, and JYP will start promoting less often. Now this is bad news for Hybe because, as aforementioned, Hybe Entertainment relies on JYP for the vast majority of their income, and them slowing down their activities or not signing with Hybe will severely impact the financial status of the company. Hybe mentioned that they want to debut a new girl group soon, and if that new group doesn't do well and nowadays their new boy groups don't achieve commercial success soon, Hybe will be in some serious trouble. With that said, I want to thank you for watching and please be sure to like and subscribe since that massively helps me out. Bye.